and certain proclivities. Okay, so that's why in some traditions, for example, you go and you get certain blessings, and they might tell you about yourself because you're a particular line of genealogy, or you might you might know from your family line kind of what you're pointed toward. Okay, so everyone is born with kind of just one of these body types.
We can also look at the chakras would correlate too, right? The chakras of ether are typically your throat chakra, and your, the air is heart, and air, fire would be in here, your sacral chakra, and your solar plexus chakra. And kapha would be your kapha would be your sacral chakra and your root chakra, and then your solar plexus chakra would be your doing, your fire, and then up higher, air is the heart, and then throat. And look at this, if you can impact. It's amazing how powerful we are. I'm trying.
So that's to give you something that you can go and you can actually use, and you can help people become more balanced by just addressing some of the issues within your own body type. And so that's how we can there's all sorts of ways that we can assess the body. So just like with posture or proprioception, that's another way. Because when you are holding your neck down like this, okay, you, like Margaret said, you are causing extreme stress on the body. The other thing I was going to mention is her HRV device, which is really interesting because I just found out from her it's the same one that we use. And this technology, the HRV, actually will tell you what type you are. And how did they come up with this? Because these Russian researchers who developed this was developed back in the 70s and 80s in the Soviet Union. And they were doing research on indigenous, they call them indigenous healers. So they were going to places like China and India, and they wanted to know, is there any validity to this stuff? Okay, these are Russians, right? They're communists, they don't believe in God, they, none of this like focus stuff, right? So they're going and just checking it out. Okay, and what they found was that in fact these indigenous healers through pulses could diagnose many conditions that there was no explanation as to how they got the diagnosis. So then they started studying, well, how were they doing this? How were they reading these pulses? And one of the things that they came up with is that these people were able to read the frequencies of vibration in the pulse rate itself. And then that's when they said, okay, well, if they can read it by frequency, then we should be able to design an algorithm that would do the same thing. So this HRV technology, the HeartQuest, is way, way advanced. So cardiologists use HRV technology. They've used it for about 15, 20 years. But this technology that's come from Russia is like way, way advanced. Okay, so you can see problems in the brain without doing a brain scan. Okay, and the problems are there. There's no question. So we had a patient that came in, and her brain map was completely black. Okay, and we're like, oh, this is not good. So, and she was battling cancer, and so we're like, okay, I'm like, you need to have like an MRI, like immediately, just to make sure it's probably Dr. Singer's hallucination, but just go and have it done. And it was a brain tumor. So these things can be picked up sooner than they would manifest as symptoms through this HRV scan. So, and you can also, what's also really interesting is you can apply the light paths to the brain or anywhere else in the body, and you can see a change in the HRV almost immediately. So the other thing with this technology You were asking, so we were asking, well, do you have to place it over the liver? You have to place it over this a particular area. Well, it's really good if you do that. Okay, it's really good because it's sending that energy and intention to that area. But from the nitric oxide point of view, it doesn't really matter where you place it. Okay, except for the fact that the infrared is penetrating the body about 2.5 inches or more. So if you're placing it on the head over the skull, this infrared light is penetrating to almost the deepest area in the brain. So you're actually affecting change in the deepest areas of the brain.
If you put the pads on.
Yeah, so we'll show in some pictures. We oftentimes will put the pads right over the skull. Okay. The other thing, yeah, like a little hat, she looks like a nun. You also will notice. Well, yeah, she's not white, but that's okay. we knew she wasn't pure. So. Just joking. I don't know that. Okay, so anyway, if you look these lights, and if you use these with kids, one of the things that they'll complain about sometimes is that they're pokey. I feel these like little pokey things. Well, if you look, especially if you put it over the spine, there's all these little acupuncture points that are there. So what do you think that you're doing? You're stimulating these acupuncture points at the same time. Now some babies, it's really uncomfortable for them. So what we'll just do is we'll put a small, like a light colored blanket over this. So then maybe they're not going to get the whole effect of the red light, but they'll get the effect of the infrared. Okay, so why don't we talk about some patients that we have seen. Come over. Do you have anything to say, Dr. Chen?
May I ask you a question, Dr. Chen?
Yeah.
So we went over the 3 body types of Ayurvedic. What about Chinese? So earth, metal, fire, water.
Okay, so what we're going to do is let's go over this case first, and then I'll give you some resources because I have a Pinterest page with all these wonderful maps on there, like different acupuncture maps and reflexology maps. So it'll better explain to you, like if you want to coordinate it, some of your different health challenges, let's just say, right? It would be easier for you to do it because we're all very visual people. So if you see a picture, you're like, ah, that's me, yeah. So let's do that. And most of you, or all of you, have like your phones here, yeah. And so you can start touching in like Pinterest, like healing station, and you should be able to see acupuncture maps. So I use that as a resource to send my patients to. So,
On Pinterest?
On Pinterest, yeah. And then it'll collect more maps for you.
So it's healing station on Pinterest under you?
Yes.
Under you? Is it the Pinterest board under your name?
Yeah, it's that's what I mean by my boards.
Okay.
It's under healing stations. So.
Oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
what. Oh, perfect.
Healing
Okay.
stations.
Healing
Stations.
yes.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I don't know what Pinterest is, but I'm sure it's great.
You know, all the ladies know what the Pinterest is, right?
My husband does, I don't.
So I know all you Relief Society members know what that is, but
That's amazing.
So one of the things you have to understand is when we're using any of these treatments, we're using, or we're really intervening in the mind, the body, and the spirit. So osteopathy, which is what I do, osteo means structure, pathos means suffering. We look at these things, mind, body, and spirit, as like a core. But what's even beyond that is the consciousness.